Hey guys, Jake Axelrod here, the founder of Metalab. Excuse the scruffiness, been on lockdown for 2 weeks and haven't had a chance to maintain or upkeep the beard and the hair. But lockdown and upkeep aside, I'm looking extremely forward to being on the Supplement Advisor's new podcast. We're going to chat about everything Metalab, some supplements, some training, some nutrition, some foods, and just what's going on at Metalab to give you a bit more insight into myself and what we're up to in the South African market. So look forward to it. If you guys have any questions after the podcast, I'll be happy to engage.
Hey Jake, sorry man, I'm not too sure what happened there, but you were saying about your supplement company.
So I was busy saying that we started a small company called Boost Supplements. When was it? It was not last year, the end of the year before. So that's like end of 2018, which launched in like March 2019. The reason why we called it Boost is we wanted to just test the kind of process of starting a supplement brand and company. So we didn't invest all of our kind of resources into the brand. We did very, very basic formulations and packaging just to learn the process, what goes behind the scenes, working with the manufacturers, the packaging, the formulations, all of that, and all of the regulations. And we called it Boost just in case it was a complete disaster and a flop. We didn't kind of tarnish the Metalab name. So it was quite a clever way to go about things. And the brand did pretty well. I mean, we manufactured a couple hundred products. It wasn't even in the thousands. And we sold directly to our client base initially, and any other people inquired about the products. And we actually sold out all of those products. And then that gave us the kind of confidence, you know what, let's do this properly. There's some keen kind of interest, and we've learned and made mistakes with that initial kind of small investment into Boost.
All right.
And then, then we kind of said, you know what, let's now do it properly. And that's how Metalab was started. So we really put a lot more financial kind of resources and time resources into generating Metalab. And we really wanted to create a very premium supplement brand in the South African market space because we really felt there was a need for it, something that's going to appeal to people who are looking at the international brands, but maybe don't want to spend as much as the international brands. And oftentimes, people automatically relate price to quality. And a lot of the international brands are just expensive because the import costs are high, not because the products are better quality. So we wanted to kind of bring that premium space to the South African market, but show people like we can make things domestically and we can actually compete on a global scale from, price and quality.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so how many products do you have out at the moment?
So at the moment, our line has 4 products. We've got our IsoBridge protein, which is a protein isolate dominant protein with normal protein isolate, 90% purity, and a hydrolysate blend. So very pure. It's got 0 carbs, 0 fat, 26 grams of protein. Then we've got our Bridge protein, which is more of a concentrate. So it's a slightly cheaper product from a protein perspective. Still very high quality. Is about 1 to 2 grams of carbs and fats and 25 protein. So still very pure. And then we've got our pre-workout Spellbound, which is more of a kind of daily pre-workout as you would have tried. It's not so appealing to people who want a stronger, kind of more stimmed product, but we are working on a formula like that as well. And then we've got our amino acid product, which is aminos, your EAAs, your BCAAs, and we've got a hydration complex in there. As well as a vitamin and mineral blend. And then across our range, we've also obviously included estrogen in our products to enhance the absorption.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, and then how's this COVID affecting everything now? Are you still seeing sales continuing, or has everything kind of slumped down? Because I know you are on lockdown as well with your sales, right?
Yeah, so obviously it's an interesting time for everyone, I'm sure, and everyone's going to deal with it differently from a business perspective. But obviously, when the kind of national state of disaster was announced, and then obviously the lockdown came into play, they obviously were very specific about you can only supply essential goods. And they weren't clear about what was essential. They kind of just said food and petrol and medical supplies and that kind of stuff. And we couldn't get clarification on if supplements were an essential good in South Africa. So we just decided, you know what, we're going to just push the pause button to not like infringe on any of the government's requests. But then, yeah, we did find out that it is essential. So we did put on our application, we got approved. But obviously in that initial phase, we weren't able to process any sales. We got a few organic sales where people said it's fine, you can deliver after the lockdown. But there was probably, you know, when that lockdown was enforced, obviously people were uncertain about their own finances. And we saw, I would say, about a 95% drop in sales, which was big. You know, so now that we can deliver, we'll start advertising a little bit more, but I still feel that people may be a bit hesitant from a financial perspective to buy supplements because they aren't necessarily a essential good in most people's lives. They are more, if I've got the money, I'm going to buy them sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And during this time, like I see that you are busy on a few little things.
Yeah, you know, it's actually been a good time for us in a sense that it's given us a chance to just step back and really analyze the business as a whole. Because, you know, when you're running a business day to day, it's sometimes tough to say to yourself, you know, just push the pause for like a few days and let's see what's working and what's not working and what can we do better for our customers. So it's allowed us to do that, which I think is a great thing. And we've been able to look at our formulas. We've been able to speak to guys like you who really understand formulations well and get awesome feedback from a lot of people. So it's given us the ability to, you know, take a closer look at our formulations and say, okay, let's look at doing things better. And when we come out of this lockdown, you know, we can have some new samples to test out there and really take the brand to another level.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. What factors do you still feel are missing in the South African market when it comes to supplementation?
So I think as a whole in general, I mean, I would say that the actual formulating of the products, I think, you know, this is just my opinion, but I feel like a lot of brands take advantage of the fact that consumers don't know much about supplement formulating. You know, you're going to get the diehards who know, okay, I'm looking for X amount of this and I'm looking for X amount of this. But for the general, you know, supplement buyer, they're going to maybe buy what looks good on the shelf or what someone's referred them to. So for me, I think definitely just formulations as a whole need to be better. And I think consumers need to be more informed. But then from a product perspective, you know, I think really, really good formulated products for an overall health perspective. And on a protein perspective, although the protein market I find is very saturated, and I see most new startup supplement companies, they won't even put a protein in their startup line because they're like, what's the point in competing with all the proteins out there? But I feel there is space to differentiate in the proteins. For example, us putting estrogen and our own unique kind of digestive enzymes, and also using high quality proteins. I mean, you can really taste the difference between a cheaper protein and a slightly higher quality one from a texture and a taste perspective. So, you know, I think it's a combination of things, having better products, formulas, and then just educating the public as well as to why they're better.
Yeah, 100%, man. I also think one of the factors too is also taste as well. I mean, you came out with the unconventional caramel and also vanilla as your first offerings, and not a chocolate, which is quite unheard of. But you've really, you know, stepped up to the plate.
Yeah, exactly. I think flavoring is a big thing, and I think overseas it's a big differentiator for a lot of supplement brands. Whereas here, you know, as you said, most people are going with more standardized stuff, and when they do try the more outlandish stuff, it's usually a hit or miss. So for us, if we can, you know, we've got some more gourmet flavors in the pipeline, but I'm one to not release anything until, like, you know, we can happily say we can drink this every day without getting sick of it, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%, man. And which is just one thing I wanted to touch on. Okay, you started your own company. For someone that wants to do the same, is there any advice you can give them?
I think it's not to hesitate, but not to be naive at the same time. So what I mean by that is a lot of people might get that kind of initial analysis paralysis, whether it's a financial thing, I don't have the funds, or I don't have the knowledge or the expertise. It might prevent them from starting. But at the same time, you can't be naive. So you need to combine your sense of urgency with a sense of readiness at the same time. So I think mentors are really great because they've kind of been there, done that. I knew absolutely nothing about the supplement industry. So when I wanted to start a supplement brand, I looked for mentors in the space, one being Alan Angel, the guy who started Evox supplements. And he was amazing for me because he literally taught me the ins and outs. He told me all the mistakes he had made. He gave me advice on how to formulate, how to source, how to manufacture, how to brand. So I would say to someone, seek out the expertise and even the finances if you don't have them. And that's a great starting point to get your feet wet with any business venture at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen the trend in America and stuff, but everyone's jumping on the bandwagon when it comes to immune boosters. Will we see anything in the line there from you guys, or are you just going to wait for this to almost pass?
Yeah, because we're a startup at the moment, it's not so viable for us. We'll start up in the supplement sense. It's not so viable for us to start looking at new product research, generating new products, sampling from a financial perspective. It doesn't cost us anything to formulate. So we definitely, even before the whole coronavirus thing, we were working on some immune/wellness, overall wellness formulas. So they're in the pipeline, but we're not going to jump on the bandwagon now.
Okay, cool. Okay, and now you've also spoken about your Metalab food and also gym as well. Can you go over the Metalab food and what it what is it and what kind of offerings do you guys have at the moment?
Okay, awesome. So yeah, again with the foods, basically that kind of whole sector of our division of the Metalab business kind of stemmed from our actual coaching and consulting client base with our actual one-to-one clients, because we almost saw it as a pain point for them, where they struggled to either prepare their meals or they had tried other meal prep providers and they just weren't too keen or avid on their meals because they were frozen. And at the same time, most of the meals weren't necessarily catered specifically towards people who are monitoring their calories and macronutrients. And that's where the kind of idea stemmed from. And our offering now is pretty much we offer directly to our clients, but also to the general public via Uber Eats and private order, daily prepared fresh meals, which are specifically broken down according to calories and macronutrients. And it's not your run-of-the-mill like chicken, rice, and broccoli and steamed fish, all that nasty stuff. It's actually really gourmet stuff. And most of our menu items are below 600 calories.
Okay, and how have you seen your sales risen substantially, or
Yeah, it was an interesting thing because again, it was quite a new concept to market. We were the first people, to my knowledge, in South Africa to offer macro and calorie broken down meals on Uber Eats. There was no one else doing it. So it was a bit interesting for us to see how the consumer is going to respond because, people like with supplement formulations, they're not so informed about what actually goes into cooking a dish. They think, it's just cooked and then they eat it. But everything you add has calories. So if we're advertising that our stuff's healthy food and then we say, oh, it's got 600 calories, people are going to say, oh, 600 calories, it's so many calories. But then they don't realize that the shake they're having from Kauai or Nu has 650 calories. And that's in addition to their meal. It's not just a meal. So it was interesting for us to see, like, are people going to want to see the calories they're eating when they're ordering their lunch and dinner? Or would they prefer not to know, just know that it's healthy food? So initially we had a few people who would say like, oh, this stuff's so high calorie. And then we had to be like, we'll compare it to X, Y, and Z. But then once we started educating our audience and our customer base, after about 2 weeks of operating, we started doing some really nice sales, especially on the Uber Eats side, surprisingly enough. It's just unfortunate that, this whole lockdown happened because both the supplements and the foods we had launched about just over a month before the lockdown. So, they were hardly even getting legs yet.
Yeah, man, I think we are in an interesting or becoming more aware of how many calories they're eating and whatnot when using their apps on their phone. So I think it's really a good and interesting time now, especially for something that you're doing like this now.
Yeah, exactly, definitely. So it's interesting to see. We just want to with all the products and services we do at Metalab, we want to kind of just push the boundaries, innovate, and just make sure that we providing the best product and service for the customer at the end of the day. Obviously, being a business, we have to make a profit in order to do that, and we're not naive to the dynamics in the market and how to grow the business. But at the same time, we are so customer centric and customer focused, and that's what drives us. If we're not providing a product that we wouldn't be happy using without denial, like, we're not going to sell it. And that's kind of what drives our products and services.
Yeah. Okay. And now you did mention at the beginning about a gym that you're going to have in the future.
Yeah. So the gym is like another puzzle piece to the Metalab brand. That's pretty much going to be opening towards the end of this year. Again, the development in which our gym is going into has been put on hold, obviously, as well. A building that's being developed. So that whole thing's been put on hold. But we're not going to release too much detail on that just yet, but just so people know that it is going to be happening towards the end of the year, and there's some pretty cool stuff that's going to be happening within that gym ecosystem as well. Some innovative stuff also.
Okay, cool. Now, just on that as well, can anyone join the gym, or is it strictly for Metalab clients? Or
so as the model stands now, if we had to open it tomorrow, you have to kind of sign up to the whole Metalab offering in order to gain access to the gym. So it is going to be a more exclusive gym location. But as a whole, the reason why we've kind of gone with introducing the gym is we want to pretty much have a vertical supply chain within our business so that we're in complete control with every single touch point that we're offering our customers and clients. We don't want them to come to our gym and then have to get meals from somewhere else or use someone else's recipe book and then buy another supplement brand, because we're not certain of that quality and how it's going to affect their lifestyle. So we want to make sure that we're in control of everything that they're interacting with within their journey.
Okay, cool, man. And is there any other pieces to the puzzle in the future, like maybe clothing or something else like that?
Yeah, definitely some apparel that we have been working on, but no specific teasers or release dates on that just yet. Again, our main focus is making sure that the supplements are up and running correctly, and we're also focusing on getting that gym done this year. So we might be looking only towards the end of the year or in 2021, also depending on the economy at the time, I suppose.
Okay, cool. And here's obviously a popular question, but are you looking for to sponsor athletes during this time, or is there something you're going to consider in the future?
Most definitely. I think collaborating and developing relationships with people who align well with your kind of brand ethos and vision is a great thing, because it just benefits both parties at the end of the day. And we have actually got 2 people in the pipeline at the moment. We're not going to release that until it's 100% finalized and official. But most definitely, if we find people that align with us and we align with them, it's not about how big their following is. It's literally, can we build a prosperous relationship for the 2 of us?
Yeah, 100%, man. Okay, and where do you see Metalab in 5 years' time? Like within South Africa, do you think it's something that you're going to be aiming toward globally, like selling your supplements overseas or something like that?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm a big believer on having a big vision and dreaming big, and then kind of working backwards. And wherever you fall, it's going to be a good spot if you have big goals. So globally, it's definitely in the pipeline, 100% from a product perspective. And from a national perspective within South Africa, obviously the supplements, the foods as well. We want to open kitchens in Durban and Cape Town as well. And from a gym perspective, we also want to have national exposure. And then with that being said, all of the different brand aspects and divisions will kind of link, as I said, into that vertical supply chain. So if you join a Metalab gym in Cape Town, you're going to get access to the entire supply chain of Metalab, not just in Johannesburg.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept that you're bringing about. Like, it's the first I've heard of it, so it's really unique and different, man. So, props to you, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a kind of big idea. And it's just going to come down to how well we implement it, and how well we build our team around it, I suppose, at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, I mean, I've seen you doing like a few videos, how to stay motivated during lockdown and different kind of training. Can you give like the listener out there like a piece of advice how to stay motivated during this lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting time for me as well because I'm super routined in what I do. I'm a big creature of habit. So I must be honest, the first week for me was a real lack. It was tough because my whole routine was thrown completely for a loop. And I even struggled to adjust. But after the first week, I think something that really helped me, and I believe I actually got this advice from someone else online. I think it was a YouTube video or something. And they said, don't put pressure on yourself to be completely motivated in this time. When your body and brain's going through change, you've got to let it transition almost organically. I think if you put too much pressure, it's going to cause more anxiety around, not being motivated. So that was the biggest thing for me, was just to just go with the flow. And usually I train in the evenings, and now I've been training in the mornings. So that was big for me. And I didn't train well because I'm used to training in the evenings. So then when I just relaxed about it, and my business and my training and everything as a whole, my motivation came back because I wasn't putting myself under pressure. So I think my advice would be just to relax a little bit. Don't put yourself under pressure to be super productive and super motivated, because we're going through massive change globally and everyone's going to react differently, and just kind of put your best foot forward.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's some really solid advice. Okay, and then social media today is obviously a lot bigger than it was like 10 years ago. Do you see that as a positive or a negative?
I think both, eh? It's like a double-edged sword, that question. Because if you have a big reach and audience on social media, it can be used for, so many positive things. But I just find, unfortunately, these days, a lot of people are using social media to almost trick and leverage off their following and their audience. And we see this a lot, I find, in the fitness space. I'm sure if myself and yourself were deep into the cosmetic space, we would see it as well. I'm sure it's in every industry. So yeah, it's really a double-edged sword. Like, props to everyone out there who's using it for, positives and informing people and educating them on the correct things with training and nutrition and supplementation. Like, your page is great,
Thanks, man.
Unfortunately, we're always going to get those kind of snake oil salesmen out there in any industry, that are just going to peddle any information for themselves to make a quick buck. And I suppose that's the negative of social media.
Yeah, true, man. You have a point. Is there anyone you look up to, like any fitness athlete or bodybuilder, anything that motivates you to, keep you on your game?
It's an interesting question. I've never really looked up to many people in the fitness space. I know that's weird, and my business is in the fitness space. But the reason I've never really looked up to them is because I can completely relate to them. If someone's like posting of how lean they're looking or what supplements they're creating, like, yeah, cool, that's good information, and I can see the trends in the market space, but it's never motivated me. I always got my motivation outside of like fitness and stuff. It was interesting. I got a lot of motivation from musicians and people who are big into philosophy, as well as business and psychology as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as there's something that motivates you, I think that's obviously the most important thing,
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've spoken to a lot of my friends and family about it in the past, and this is just an opinion of mine, but I always found that it's great to find motivation from sources that are external to what you know. Because
100%.
it gives like a completely different perspective on how you're viewing either your business or your training or your relationships, So I've always thought it's a really good thing.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, now he has also like quite a good topic as well, but I see that you are quite a big believer in mental health and wellness. Do you think the rise of nootropics and stuff is where it should be, or is it still yet to grow further?
Yeah, it's a good question. That, you know what, whenever I look at like new kind of products in the market, I'll always first look at the actual prescription use of what they claim. So if someone says, "Oh, nootropics, like they're amazing and they're going to help you work better," and I'm going to say, but for someone who's got ADD and they've got a medical prescription, like Ritalin you're just never going to be Ritalin, you know? So I'm always going to say, like, if you're going to do what Ritalin does, then why use it? It's like, you know, taking a natural pain remedy when you can just take a Miprodol.
Yeah.
You know, so whenever something like that comes out, I always look at what's being prescribed out there for that. So when it comes to focus, I think there are some really awesome ingredients out there that if you use them for a long enough amount of time, which I believe at the moment, a lot of the research on nootropics is extended use. That's when you see the most benefit. It's not like take it today and you're going to be able to focus today. You know, you might feel it a little bit, but I think it needs extended use. But I think that it's moving in the right direction. I really like the idea of products that would potentially be able to help people focus and zone in more naturally than taking something like a Ritalin or a Concerta.
Yeah, 100%. And all the that you kind of take inspiration from, like supplement companies.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of great companies out there for sure. But you know, I wouldn't say necessarily I take inspiration from them. It's almost like I can relate to them in a sense. Like, oh, cool, I see what you're doing. Like, I like it, you know. And I think there's also, you know, there's some good brands locally as well, you know, trying to push the boundaries, you know, which I have a lot of respect for. And I just find, unfortunately, in the local market, it's very hard to formulate on the level of the international guys, just lack of access to raws, you know, or at a good cost at least. So as much as one can get inspiration from, you know, the guys who are pushing the boundaries overseas, yeah, okay, cool. Maybe you can get inspiration for your branding, but if you want to formulate close to how they're formulating, like, good luck, you know, it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg. So, yeah, to answer your question, definitely I do get inspiration from brands, and there's a lot of brands out there that I definitely do like.
Yeah, 100%. And do you think the rise of lifestyle brands are going to continue, like, for example, Ghost?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been quite a lot that have come about. There's obviously Ghost who kind of started pushing that boundary. There were quite a few. There was one weird, like, it never took off. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a guy who started a supplement brand. His first product was a pre-workout called like Spasmatic or something. I don't know if you ever knew that.
Yeah, it was. I think his name is Tim Murillo, if I'm not mistaken.
But that was like before Ghost's time, and that was like almost a lifestyle, like a weird, completely different branding. And I almost feel like Ghost saw his stuff and was like, wait, we can do this a lot better. But you know what? I think lifestyle brands are great, and I do think there's a space for them because they're less intimidating to the customer. They're a lot more relatable than your traditional hardcore supplement brand, which is still the traditional route that most people are going when they start a brand. So I like them. Obviously, Metalab is pretty much a lifestyle brand anyway. So I am a fan of them. I feel like they're slightly softer and more appealing to the consumer who doesn't want to compete in a bodybuilding show, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, the one good aspect you did pick on is that you are going to add another addition to your line, that the more hardcore pre-workout, because you do get those who might like a lifestyle brand, but they do like something a bit more hard-hitting.
Yes, exactly. So I think, you know, the lifestyle aspect really comes down to the branding. You know, you can have like seriously hardcore formulas, but if your branding's appealing, you know, even a hardcore formula will appeal to a mom of two who wants a good pre-workout for gym. But if the branding is also like super hardcore and there's these gigantic bodybuilders promoting it, you might not buy it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing I have to say about your brand, man, is that your branding and everything else, the whole field is like completely unique and premium, you know, in the South African segment. And that's, you know, that's something that, I've never seen it before in South Africa, man. So again, props to you, bro.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. We put a lot of effort and thought into the branding.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see what else is going to come up next. And yeah, man, I think we've hit all the notes. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just thank you for having me on, and also just wanted to say props to you for doing what you're doing, especially in an industry like the supplement industry where there's can be a lot of hot-headed people in the space. To put yourself out there and honestly review stuff, whether you like it or you don't like it, and you say it, like it's great for the consumer, and you're putting your neck out to do it. So respect for you, and just keep building that platform as well that you're doing, man.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it, bro. And yeah, as I said, like a big props to you and everything you're doing and trying to accomplish, man, because you're obviously following something you're passionate about and you just want the consumer to get the best they can get for their money's worth. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously, that's it, man. If we can give the consumer the best products and services possible, then we're winning at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%, Jake. Well, again, thanks, man, for joining in. I really do appreciate it. And can you just give us your handles and stuff if someone's watching and they want to know how to contact you or, want to follow Metalab?
Yeah, for sure. Our main website is www